All right, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this. This is an impromptu live with
Mhm.
Riding Shotgun with Charlie Cook, and I have Mike Harris from the Gun Owners Action League, and this should be going out to all the children in Facebook and in on the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and my personal one. And Mike, we're doing this. I love this. I called you what, a half hour ago,
Yeah, maybe
and I'm
if
like,
even that.
hey, I know, right? I'm like, hey, what are you doing right now? Let's talk. Let's get on and talk
Yeah.
about this bill. Crazy Mike is here. Hey, Mike,
Oh,
Crazy Mike, what's happening? Um, let's talk
my
about
my
this
alter
bill.
ego.
No, right, versus regular Mike.
Yeah,
Right. All right. Let's talk about this bill. Let's go through the real quick history and talk about the nonsense on what happened today and what people in
Yeah.
Massachusetts need to do.
So oddly enough, so just before we hopped on here, literally, let me see, a second and a half ago, at 3 minutes ago, I guess, at 8:09 p.m., the actual final language finally went up on the Mass Legislature website. So the final number of this bill in the conference committee report is H 4885.
48. Jesus.
Yep.
They printed it today and they even changed the number.
Yeah. Well, it's whenever they make different language, whenever they make it into different language, it always has to get a new number.
I'm gonna make it some different language.
Right? I would love to make it some different language.
Totally.
I'd love to make it no language. I'd love to be it
Right.
House Bill nothing. But anyways, yeah. So this is the dreaded Massachusetts omnibus gun bill. No, Mo, it's 4885.
4885, Mo.
4885. Yep.
4885.
Yep. So it's an act modernizing firearm laws, which is just a nonsense euphemism that they always like to tie to these things. I'm just glad it doesn't have like an acronym, like the
Oh
safer
God.
bill or whatever. So, but
Right.
anyways, yeah, we can start from the beginning if you want. You want me to walk through a little bit of the history in this one?
Yeah, real quick, and then we can get to all the nonsense that
Yeah.
they gave us today.
So a little bittersweet. This is actually how Charlie and I became kind of more friendly here, is by hanging out at
Careful
these
how you say
listening
that.
tour stops. So it's but so back in June ish of, or actually I guess it was February of 2023, the Speaker of the House tasked Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee Mike Day to do a top to bottom review of the state's gun laws. This was after this was kind of a response to Bruin, and also just kind of every 10 years they seem to do this. There was another bill in 2014. There's another bill before that in 2004. Another one before that in 1998. It's kind of a weird little cycle. If you go back and look at all the omnibus gun bills, they're pretty much every 10 years. So it was we were due. Um, so instead of going through the normal traditional process, Mike Day's office decided to do this long listening tour, is what they were calling it. So it was like what, 12 or 13 different stops across the Commonwealth in different areas of the state, talking about different subjects and the nexus between that subject and guns. So it would be like mental health and guns, school safety and guns, hunting and guns, all this stuff. So, they tied firearms in with all these other topics, and it was really frustrating. But, at the beginning of this, goal was working with them. We were suggesting panelists. We were going to all the different events. We were just making sure that we
All of
were
them.
all exactly.
Yeah.
And I think we had a pretty solid turnout of 2A advocates all along. I think. Would you disagree, Charlie?
No, we did. I mean,
Yeah.
you came from all over the place. Carrie Ann
Yeah.
and Carrie Ann Leclerc and Renee Gagne
Renee.
came from Renee. They came from all over the place as well. I made it to 8 of the 11. I wrote
Yeah.
about them on news2a.com, so people can
Mm-hmm.
check out the history of those things there. And it was quite an interesting thing because they would bring up these people that had no idea about firearms and then ask them what they thought about ghost guns. And they're like, well, we should have those off the street. Those people shouldn't have those. They shouldn't be around. And you're like, wait a second. You're expanding the definition of a ghost gun to a firearm that's had the the serial number defaced, which is already a felony.
Right. And ghost gun is just another term like assault weapon. As you can tell by the fact that they changed the word in this from assault weapon to assault style firearm. They're
Right.
they're invented terms used to scare people. They're political words. They're not real. I guess every word is made up, but they're not, they're not actual terms in
They're
the
not
in
right.
the
They're not
firearm
accurate.
community.
Like
Yeah.
I tell
Accurate's a good
people
way to
this.
put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people to do this. I say, you know what? If you want to have a good time and get a little bit about the firearm culture, go back and watch Stripes. because in,
Yeah.
because in Stripes, everybody had a rifle, and what kind of rifle did they have? An M16,
Yeah.
right? And I
M16.
get it's a movie, and I get all that, but that was before 1994, and those were just rifles because that's what we called them.
Yeah. Exactly. And there's the push and pull between people called like the modern sporting rifle or whatever, but a lot of people don't understand that like, the technology, it's improved slightly, but the base of the AR-15 or the M16 or whatever you want to call it was invented in what, 1956. And a lot of
Yeah,
people
somewhere
don't know
around
that
there.
the 47 in AK-47 means 1947.
Right.
So, and that's actually based on, they say the closest relative is the M1 Garand, but we don't have to talk about that.
Right.
But a lot of people say it's the SKS. I think it's the Garand. But anyways, so yeah, it's just one of those things where, they're, by making up these terms and then codifying them in law, it kind of lends them a lot more credibility than it deserves, because it's a made up political term used to persecute and prosecute and just demonize people that
Yeah, to scare
want to
people. I
exercise
mean,
the Second Amendment rights. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. As GWeb says here, the assault names, end quote, are not established industry jargon. They are usually only
exactly.
they are only to incite emotion and convey connotation to gun owners. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
and then yeah, and in the law, the word assault doesn't actually mean hurting somebody. It means the anticipation of an imminent battery. So if you assault somebody, you don't even have to hit them. You just have to make them scared of it. So it just kind of, it's evident in the use of their use of the word assault. It has nothing really to do with causing damage. It has to do with being scary.
mm, great.
So, but anyways, we can walk it back a little bit. So, they finished up this listening tour. And then 2 days later, it felt like they came out with this 160 section, 140 page bill out of absolutely nowhere. Up
Mm.
until the very end of the tour, we, speaking with Day's office, they hadn't finished drafting it. They didn't have anything. They didn't know what they were going to do. But 2 weeks later.
Oh, geez, we just lost Mike. I'm not sure what happened. Mike will come back. So what ended up happening is 2 weeks later, this bill came out, and they wanted to push it for to get it through by the end of the month. All right. Yeah, that was weird. That's okay. You're
Really
back.
weird.
That's okay. So I was just saying they wanted to push this through and get the bill
Mhm.
through in I don't know, a month or so, a couple
Yeah.
of weeks.
Yeah, following the release of the bill. So it was HD 4420. Everybody knows that number. That was the kind of the rallying cry. We still kind of call it that. So they came out with that original language, and then eh, there was such an uproar over it, and it was so big and so ridiculous and so unwieldy that we, the gun owners in Massachusetts, really pushed back and had a huge impact. We stopped the speaker in his tracks. They had to pull the bill and redraft it. I mean, they didn't really do much redrafting, if you really want to
Right.
be honest about it. And then came out with a new version. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then as soon as that came out, they announced the hearing date the exact same day that they released the bill. I think it was 3 days later or something. It was right
Yeah,
after Columbus Day.
Columbus
Yeah.
weekend. Yeah, they dropped the bill
Yep.
on like a
Yeah, they dropped
Friday.
it on
They
Thursday
dropped
or
it on
Friday.
Thursday or Friday and said they're having a hearing on Tuesday
Tuesday after the
after a 3-day weekend.
after a 3-day weekend, yeah, after Columbus Day. So we had to scramble and get all of our stuff ready. We had to put together our analysis and all that stuff, and all of our testimony, and we all went to the hearing and testified on Goal's behalf. But the really odd thing that they did was they they called the hearing as a joint hearing between the House Ways and Means Committee and the uh, House Committee on the Judiciary. There's a ton of inside baseball on this, on how odd that is and how this would work. But the House Ways and Means Committee is probably financially the most powerful committee in the state. It's the most powerful group of government people in the state. It's the only place where money bills can begin. So anything that has to do with levying taxes, raising funds, spending money in certain ways has to start in the House Ways and Means Committee. So
Okay.
every single bill that has to do with the budget, regardless of what it is, unless it's the Senate version of the budget, which is here nor there, starts in House Ways and Means. So they were the only committee that had the power to do what they did. On top of that, they have such a large majority that nobody was standing in their way when they did this. So what they did was they took a it's a supplemental bond bill, a supplemental budget bill that had already gone through, you know, half of the process, I guess, on the House side.
Hmm.
Took a time machine, hollowed it out, stuck the gun language in it, came back, pretended it had always been there, and shoved it out to the floor for the rest of the legislative process, which is third reading and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and then pushed it out, voted on it in the House, engrossed it, sent it over to the Senate. The Senate took it. We were all kind of trying to figure out what the Senate was going to do, because there was a lot of talk about them not appreciating the way that the House went about this. There's a lot of there are a few differences of opinion, uh, to be polite, between the Speaker and the Senate President. They're not best pals. So on top of the fact that this was a really weird way to do this, it's kind of a legislative dirty trick. It was
Right.
perfectly legal, unfortunately, but they have such large numbers that they can just do things without opposition, and the Senate didn't really appreciate that much. So they decided they were going to release their own language, and in a fit of capitulation, I think the Senate released their bill as an amendment to 41. To I don't know, whatever the hell the bill number was back then, as
Right.
opposed to their own bill. So they were able to conference it, which is where they are now, if they did pass it, which they did. So once the Senate released their language, there was a big uproar from our side of things, saying, "Hey, this is so substantially different that we should get a public hearing on this as well." They disagreed, sent it to a vote, and voted it in. And then a couple days later, or actually, I would say probably a month later, appointed a conference committee of the 6 members of the committee that just released this report. So
Right.
that's
Gave us
kind of
this.
where we are now.
Gotcha.
That's
All
the
right. Well,
really
let's.
short version.
Then and the nonsense that
Mhm.
Goal wanted to point out is that the goal, of course, the Gun Owners Action League, they wanted to point out that the process of the way that they did this matters, which is why they got the
Yeah.
what is it, processmatters.org.
Processmatters.org. Yep.
All right, so
Yeah.
that is where people can check this out. All right, G-Webs has got a question. Let's pull it up and see if I can
Sure.
read it here. When the politicians do these shady moves and inserting bad law into already in the works, do they open themselves to any consequences for those actions, lawsuits, investigations, etc.?
No, so legislators are protected from all that stuff in their that are in the normal course of duty. They have the speech and debate clause. They're not subject to the open meeting law. They're not subject to the sunshine law. All that stuff. It's interesting to talk about the way that they got there since they do it themselves, but
Right.
they're not subject to that stuff. However, in this circumstance, they honestly didn't even break the law or do anything particularly shady. Um, this is it is frustrating, but this is one of those circumstances where the voters in the Commonwealth kind of get what they deserve. Because it's not a process issue because everything they did is perfectly within the rules of the legislature. So I'll go off on a little tangent here, but according to the state's constitution, the separation of powers doctrine, each branch of government, from the governor's office, the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judiciary, they all set their own rules of operation. And every legislative session, which is every 2 years, the first thing the legislature does is vote on the House rules, the Senate rules, and the joint rules. So they set the way that they're going to operate. And
Okay.
regardless of whether or not that's they're giving themselves too much or whatever, those are the rules.
They've already decided on the rules before they play the
Exactly.
game. Yeah.
And honestly, it's really just a version of Robert's Rules of Order. It just goes a little bit beyond that in the specificity of dealing with the Massachusetts legislative process.
Right.
So according to the rules, they didn't do anything untoward. The problem and the reason why this feels so gross is because I've been calling it, there's supercars and now there's hypercars. The Massachusetts legislature, there's one party that has a hypermajority and can basically do whatever they want, because there's no opposition. There's no one
Right.
to stand in their way and keep them honest. So ordinarily, when they want to call a special session or a special hearing for Ways and Means and then hand the reins off to judiciary, there would be somebody there to object to it.
Right.
They can't you can't really use those kind of weird little dirty tricks, even though they're within the rules, when
Mhm.
you have a robust opposition party. And that's kind of where we are in Massachusetts, where for better or for worse, I
It's
say
what we
that because
got.
I have to, it's what we have.
Right.
So yeah, it's
Let's yeah, can we get into this? Because
absolutely.
I don't want to take up too much of your time because it
No,
was like I
please.
said, this is you probably have like family to go home to.
Yeah. Well, this is the bill.
I can't. Oh, great! It seems like it's more than
See that
40, but
print?
less than 100. Oh,
It's
Jesus.
111 pages. I'm sorry,
111
actually
pages.
the new version is 116 pages and it is, hang on, give me 1 second. Let me open this up. It's 116 pages and it is 159 sections.
Jesus. What ridiculousness. So I pulled this up. I've been checking this out. Gold posted the conference report for 4139, which is now 4885. And I want to go through some of this because some of this seems redundant and some of it seems ridiculous.
Hmm?
The firearms licensing section, and you can go to I put the link. Excuse me, I put the link in the comments if you guys want to check this out. It's gold.org/H4139/conference/report. That is what I'm checking out. It says it consolidates and reorganizes current firearm licensing sections into a single unified process with consistent standards and procedures.
Yeah.
Didn't it have that before? Like you had
Kinda.
there were you could do the NRA basic rifle or basic shotgun class to get an FID card, but if you did the basic if you did NRA home firearm safety or the NRA basic pistol, then you
Mhm.
could get the FID or the license to carry or the
Yeah.
LTC, right?
So unfortunately, this bill establishes a whole new
A whole new curriculum, right?
standard for establishing a new curriculum. Um,
Great.
so we
Yeah.
don't know what the hell that's going to look like. Every section of this bill is also accompanied by a uh, a regulation order. So what happens is when a statute is passed by the legislature, it's really broad language, and it gives
Hmm.
instructions to the executive branch, who executes the law. Um, and what that does is they instruct them to promulgate regulations to get the result that they desire. So it says, like, the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security will promulgate regulations to establish blah blah blah. In
Right.
this there so in this one there's a there's an order from the legislature to EOPS, the Public Safety and Security, and the Colonel of the State Police to collaborate on establishing a new unified curriculum for the LTC, FID, and for an FFL. So,
And
or
for
a
an FFL, right? And it
yeah,
says the license to sell.
yep, yeah. So that's going to be a whole new unified process. It's also going to include live fire mandates.
We
There's a
haven't even
study,
gotten down there yet, but
yeah.
yes.
There's a study order for that, and an exam after you take the class. And if an instructor gives a certificate to someone who has failed the exam, the instructor is liable for prison time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and a
All right. Well,
hefty
let's
fine.
let's get to this. So it says it requires an individual to be 21 to own semi-automatic rifles or
Yep.
shotguns. So this includes the Ruger 1022.
Yep.
Right? Because that's a semi-automatic rifle. In Washington State, of course, they call that an assault weapon.
Yeah.
18 to 21-year-olds can still possess rifles or shotguns with an FID card.
Mhm.
It doesn't say non-large capacity rifle or shotgun. And it preserves the ability for all ages to use firearm underneath somebody that's duly licensed. Okay,
Right.
whatever. That's the same. Restructures penalties for failure to report a firearm or a firearm loss or theft by removing the $500 minimum fine for all offenses and providing a fine up to $1,000.
Up to
So,
1,000.
right, you're the victim of a crime. It's going to cost you $1,000.
Potentially, yeah. So the legislature is not too keen on mandatory minimums. In fact, they really hate them, and Mike Day especially hates them. He's a lawyer, so they're not a big fan of
He's
those.
a civil rights lawyer.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Second Amendment's not a civil right. Forgot. Sorry.
Right.
But yeah. There's a lot of language removing mandatory minimums in here and replacing it with a potential fine that's higher. But
Great. Right.
it's kind of where we live in Massachusetts.
Welcome to the Commonwealth, is what I
Yeah.
say. So the second offense is incarceration for up to 6 months,
Mhm.
and more than that is more potential incarceration. Right, right. You've been the victim of a crime. Someone broke in your house and stole your guns. You're going to jail because someone broke in your
Yeah.
house and stole your guns.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's exactly, yeah.
Yeah. This is blaming the victim here. This might be good. 12 to 15-year-olds can apply for a pepper spray license. Well,
Look how much it costs, Charlie.
Oh, I didn't. I don't even see that. I'll break it to me.
$300.
$300 to carry a spice. Unbelievable. If you're 12 to 15, 15 to 8, and you have to have parents' permission, obviously. 15 to 18-year-olds can independently apply for a pepper spray license, which is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's got a section here: the firearm dealer inspections. All local licensing authorities allows all local licensing authorities to opt out and transfer their firearm inspection responsibilities to the Mass State Police. Requires dealers to confiscate expired or suspended licenses presented to them, and continues to require dealers to report this to the DCJIS and the bearer and the local authorities. So
how insane is that?
Yeah.
Are they going to do FFLs now get badges?
I
mean,
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. So Carrie Ann's popping in here. Oh, here we are.
Hey, Carrie.
There we are. Carrie Ann says hello, and then she says, "Where's the Fritos?"
Yes.
Yes, and of course, G Webs is saying hi to Carrie Ann. I heard you can get a contemporary. Sorry, excuse me. I heard you can get a temporary permit to carry home spice hot sauces at the grocery
Okay,
store. Right?
so that's not actually a joke. Can I tell you a ridiculous story? So
I'm sitting down.
the last time Jim and I went to the State House, uh, after January 6th, we went in there and they had to they will now take your pepper spray and your knife and put it somewhere and give you the check-in card for it.
Right.
We were talking to them and they're like, "Oh wow, so what's the deal with this?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can't have anything in here anymore. We wouldn't even let you bring Tabasco sauce in. They confiscate hot sauce. I
Tabasco
shit you
sauce.
not. They confiscate Tabasco sauce at the State House.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Packets or jars?
any container your heart desires, they will take it from you and hold it until you leave. So you can't. There's no spicy fries or anything
No
in the
spicy
building for you. You
fries.
have to you have to check it in and then come and get it and go outside and eat your Tabasco sauce and then come back and you have to check it in again.
Unfriggin' believable.
Yeah,
Um,
outrageous.
our- it is. All right, let's keep going here. So, firearm carry and transport. It clarifies the law regarding to carry and transport of firearms by defining the term secured in a locked container. Thank God they
Yep.
finally determined that.
Yeah, this is
Um,
one of the areas that's not so bad.
okay, right. And now specifically acknowledging this includes a locked console, glove box, or trunk,
Yep.
in an unoccupied motor vehicle. So you could
Yeah.
store your gun in your glove box.
Yep.
Carrie's
So
going to dig this.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say it doesn't apply to SUVs, the trunk area there because it's still within the car.
Right.
But if
It's
it's a
still,
locked
it's
trunk, yep.
gotcha. All right. So what else do we have? Carrie Ann should dig this. Aligning ATV carry with motor vehicle carry requirements.
Yeah.
Good.
Which is cool.
And
You'll be able to carry your sidearm with you.
when you're in the woods, cool. And permitting properly licensed non-residents to travel through the Commonwealth with a secured.
Yeah.
Didn't
This is a cool
Reagan do
one.
this? Didn't Reagan do
So
this back in the
so you're
80s?
so you're talking about FOPA. So this actually goes beyond FOPA, which is pretty cool. This is actually one of the I don't want to say nice things about this bill. I'm kind of getting mad at you,
Right.
Charlie. But no, this this is actually one of the sections that we were looking at and we were really surprised by. Garrett Holcomb, the president of Goal, was here earlier, just kind of hanging out, looking at stuff, and we were going through it. And his jaw almost hit the floor when he saw this because it actually goes farther than FOPA. If you are an unlicensed, if you're unlicensed in Massachusetts and you're driving through, you don't have to store your gun in a locked container per the regulations under FOPA. You can keep it on your person while you're driving through, and if you leave the vehicle, then you have to
Oh,
lock it away
okay.
and leave it there. So it actually it's I think it's more of a convenience thing, which is nice. And if
Right.
something does happen, it's there and available for you to use if you have to, God forbid. But it's one of those circumstances where they do allow for the defense of life and others. So, and that's actually kind of specifically written in there also, which is kind of nice. It's an
That's
unexpected benefit to this one. So
yeah, let's go
yeah.
with that. Let's go with that. I think Rhode Island, somebody was telling me that Rhode Island has this. So you can transport, you can carry, Illinois has this too. You can carry in your car, but once you step out of the car, then you're breaking the law.
Same exact thing. And I think that's probably what it's modeled after.
Gotcha. I guess that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. We got to give credit where credit is due. It is what it is.
This is true. The next one are the prohibited areas. It prohibits carrying of firearms in government buildings, polling places, and schools.
Yeah.
Provides municipalities with the ability to opt out of their municipal building. Currently retired law enforcement officers are exempt from the prohibition, so they get their cut out. Leaves unchanged the current right to private individuals and businesses to prohibit carry of firearms on their private property.
At least it doesn't expand it to be a criminal violation. That's good.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because that was in the House version.
Gotcha. Give me a second here. Let's get into the next one: assault style firearms and large capacity feeding devices.
This is an abomination. So you can have your pre-ban mags, but they have to stay in your house, or you can only use them at the range. You can't carry them anywhere else. And when you transport them, they have to be unloaded and locked away. So that's kind of nonsense. And you cannot transfer them anymore. So go buy all your pre-ban mags now. Yeah. So if you have a Glock that uses pre-ban mags, you can no longer carry the pre-ban mags in them.
That's nonsense.
Nonsense. Yep.
That
Agreed.
is nonsense.
Yep.
Um,
But if we want to get into the real egregious part of this,
yeah.
the features test for assault weapons or assault style firearms, I should say, is really where this thing goes downhill. It's a two features test now, technically, but when you actually dig down into it, it becomes a single feature test, because among the dangerous and scary features is the barrel shroud, or the what we call a handguard. So I was joking around with Toby Leary earlier, saying that, yeah, so if you have a pistol grip, it accepts a detachable magazine, and it has a handguard on it, that's an assault weapon. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
so it's literally every single semi-auto rifle, including your M1 Garand, because there's a separation. If you look at it, there's the stock, and then there's a small separation between where the handguard goes up, and it's made of wood.
That's a barrel shroud.
Barrel shroud.
A barrel shroud. So if a handguard is a barrel shroud.
Yeah. So I think I was joking around with Toby Leary earlier. I was on his show too. We were saying Massachusetts is about to be in competition with California to have the goofiest looking rifles.
Totally.
You're saying, yeah. Totally. So with every rifle, every semi-auto rifle you sell that has a pistol grip, you're not going to be able to have the handguard on it. So you'll have to sell the rifle with an open barrel and a pot holder. You'll get a nice oven mitt.
Right, get an assault pot holder. Very cool.
Yeah, an assault oven mitt. Well, sales of heat resistant gloves are about to go through the roof in Massachusetts. You should buy stock in it.
Unbelievable. The barrel shroud, of course, the definition for the barrel shroud that we got from Carolyn McCarthy years and years and years ago is the shoulder thing that goes up.
Shoulder thing that goes up. Yep.
Yes. But it's barrel shrouds used to just be a piece of metal with holes on it that went around the barrel of the barrel of the rifle, so that you didn't touch it. So it's a safety feature that they want to ban. Yeah.
Well, it's just funny to me. So the handguard, I'm not calling it a barrel shroud, Charlie. I'm not going to do it. It's called the handguard, and the handguard is one of the features that allows you to get 5 points of contact on a long gun. And I think it's really funny to me that all of these new regulations and new statutes that are coming out seem to be designed to make your gun less controllable.
Great. Well,
it's very funny to me.
I may have a friend that recently acquired an angled forend, an angled grip from of the Magpul type, and I assume that's going to not be acceptable. Correct?
Does it attach directly to the barrel, or does it go on your?
It attaches to the barrel shroud handguard.
Your handguard, yeah. It's just, this is the stuff that you look at and you're like, I don't want to curse on your show, but you did this on purpose. They knew exactly.
Be kidding me.
Yeah. I mean, we joke around a lot about them not knowing what's in the bill at the beginning and stuff, but they knew what they're doing on this one. It's a semi-auto ban, but it's in the back door, because they're anything with a pistol grip, a detachable magazine, and a handguard. Fuck out of here. Come on.
Okay, so if we can't have a handguard, can we have pistol braces? Because we know that those are legal now. And if we can only use one hand to shoot them, maybe we all need to get pistol grips.
I mean, as long as it's a 16-inch, as long as it's a 16-inch barrel, you have a rifle with a crappy stock on it.
Right.
It's nonsense.
Exactly. It is.
and then the actually, you know what? I'm actually curious. I wonder. So in the version we've been working on, that was if this is a working version from that got leaked out of the committee. This is not the final version, the one that we had up there,
Mhm.
but the new one that just came out is the final. I'm wondering what the grandfather clause is in this new version, because in this old one, the grandfather clause is July 20th, 2016. But what we're reading from the summary that we got earlier as well, it says it's until the date of enactment. So um, that will be, whenever the governor signs this.
Right.
So that I'm hoping that's what's in here. That would be cool, because that means all of us could keep the stuff that we currently have if you
Mhm.
acquired it after July 20th, 2016. Um, yeah. So another thing that's horrifying about this is it creates a registry, and it uses the word registry.
Really?
Sure does, Charlie. Yeah.
See, up until now, I tell people that we have a transfer registration, and I do the Jedi mind trick hand move and say it's not a gun registration;
Yeah.
it's a transfer registration. You're
We say
registering the
you're
transfer,
reporting the transfer. Yeah.
right? So you could, and I will tell you this: I did not become a gun owner until 2002 is when I got a gun license.
Mhm.
2003. I'm going to be careful because I'm sure Maura Healy does not watch the show, but uh, I went to the Midwest and transported firearms that were that were willed to me from my father,
Naughty.
and I talked to my guru, Dr. John Green, and I said, John, these are mine, and he looked at me and said, "Watch me, Charlie. These were your guns when you moved here, weren't they?" And I'm like, yes. And he's
Yeah.
like, then you don't have to let Massachusetts know you have them. And I was like, but I feel dirty. And I did let Massachusetts know, and I am perpetually
Oh,
pissed at myself for doing so,
hiss, boo, boo, hiss.
dude.
But no,
Completely
it's
ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. What else do we have here? The Firearm Advisory Board and rosters. I know the roster. I saw someone post that the roster came out today. The approved weapons roster.
yeah, but there's stuff on there that has threaded barrel and all that stuff. So a lot of the stuff that's on the new list is not going to be legal in a few days, anyways, or a few months, I should say,
Great.
because statute
Um,
wins over regulation. The supremacy clause, it goes, Constitution, statute, regulation. So,
Gotcha. All right. Warsaw Patriots got a question. He
mhm.
says around September there should be more on the Illinois assault
Yes,
weapon
sir.
ban. The Illinois weapon ban was GVR'd, granted, vacated, and remanded down to the
Mhm.
Judge McGlynn of the Southern District of Illinois. So there's still
Well,
hope. Southern
it
Illinois.
was.
I
I don't
grew
know
up
if
in
it was
Illinois.
GVR'd. It was.
Okay.
They didn't take the interlocutory um appeal because the case hadn't been decided on the merits yet in the appellate circuit court. So I don't know if it was GVR'd, but it was definitely remanded, or they did not take up the interlocutory appeal.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha. Well, Southern Illinois is.
that's a law degree over there. I can say things like interlocutory.
And yeah, right. And I'm not even going to ask what it means. So that's fine. Southern Illinois is free America. It's not Chicago.
I know.
You
Well,
know,
they should split off and
it
become
really is.
Indiana.
Yeah, totally. All right, so they got a section here on modifications, which I think we sort of hit, but not really. It adds definitions for modifications and parts that convert semi-automatic firearms into an automatic firearm, and includes within these the machine gun definition to ensure that the possession and the use of devices, including bump stocks, trigger cranks, Glock switches, and auto sears, are
Yeah.
subject to the same significant penalties.
Yeah. So what they're doing is they're making. So this is what was always funny to me. So putting a Glock switch on a Glock is already illegal.
It's already illegal, right?
There's three different federal laws that say that. uh, you know, everybody always says nice things about Reagan, and it bothers me because he's the one who took away transferable machine guns, but that's okay.
Right.
But having a machine gun without without a machine gun license is already illegal.
It's already illegal.
You already couldn't do that. So
Right.
what they're doing here is they're taking parts that, if placed upon your gun that you already have in a way that would turn it into giving it the ability to fire automatically, um, they're just criminalizing the ownership of those parts. So you don't even have to put them on a gun. It's just illegal to have them. So the
Right.
auto sears and Glock switches aren't illegal on their own. They're just pieces of metal. But once you put them on a firearm, they become you
Really
become
illegal.
you become a federal felon if you get caught with them. But so what
Gotcha.
this does is just takes it an extra step and says even before you put it on anything, it's illegal. So this is going to
In,
apply to force reset triggers, binary triggers, trigger cranks, bump stocks, everything that
is
makes your
there
gun shoot faster.
uh is there is there going to be a date, like grandfathered nonsense?
Not for those. No,
No.
I can't
Okay.
imagine that they would do
So
that.
it's not like we could buy one now.
No, and I mean honestly, some of that stuff is kind of just, and with the exception of the auto sear and the Glock switch,
Mhm.
which if you put, I- they if you even if you bought one now, it would just be something that you would have to put on your shelf unless you like got a got a green card. But you know, those some of that stuff is just gimmicky stuff, and but it's
Right.
we're free Americans, we should be able to have it if we want. But the if you put, yeah, sure, you can have Carrie Ann hop on.
Okay.
But if you put you know, if you put them on your gun, that's when it becomes illegal. Not the
That's when it's
FRTs and
illegal.
trigger cranks and stuff, but like stuff that
Right.
makes it into a gun. Like I mean, you look at the Cargill decision,
Mhm.
and they based the entire opinion, or Thomas based the entire opinion on the function of a firearm and
Right.
how one trigger pull fires more than one round. So
That's what the
federally,
definition.
yeah. So federally putting most all those things except an auto sear and a Glock switch on your gun, they're perfectly legal on the federal level, but on Massachusetts, they're going to make them illegal just to have the parts,
Gotcha.
not even to put them on the gun. Yeah,
Our good buddy here, Mark Lindblom, is chiming in.
agreed.
So yes, we could not agree more, Mr.
Yeah,
BSKOG. All right. What else do we have here? Serialization and ban of untraceable ghost guns.
yeah.
There we're so what if you make a homemade firearm, or I
Mhm.
call it a DIY, and I think I've said this somewhere before.
I
I
call it a
think
frontier gun. That's what
a
I call it.
frontier gun, nice. I
Yeah.
call it a DIY. I think we might want to call it the IKEA guns, right?
Yeah. I like calling it
Um,
a frontier gun because back when people were moving out west and didn't have a town to live in and somebody who made their locks, stocks, and barrels, you had to do it yourself. It's a frontier
Absolutely,
gun.
absolutely. All right, we're waiting for Carrie Ann to hop on here.
Hey, carry in.
Yeah, so the way it's supposed to work in the Commonwealth currently, I believe, is that you have to do what? You make the firearm, and
Report your
then you have to
acquisition.
report it. Report your acquisition. All right, here we are, ladies and
Which,
gentlemen. It's Carrie Ann Eau
hey,
Claire.
carry in. John and I
I'm
used to
in the
have
dark.
arguments about that. You are in the
She's in
dark.
I'm in the dark.
I'm
You
still in
can't
the
see me.
office.
I know. I
the.
saw that.
I know,
Been
but
diving into this abomination.
uh,
Well,
But no, I
thank God we have you guys, because without you and Jim, this would be a very difficult thing to understand,
it's
because
already
it's
a
a lot
difficult
to
thing to
it, a lot of
understand.
moving parts.
Yeah. But
right.
I, I actually, John and I used to have arguments about this too, because not arguments, but I had a difference of opinion about manufacturing your own firearm and the reporting requirements, because you're not acquiring it, you're assembling it.
You're
So
assembling it
yeah, so
exactly.
I don't know.
Warsaw Patriot's got a question here. He doesn't understand you can make a flintlock pistol or a musket rifle, but not a polymer 80,
Mhm.
because black powder guns are considered antiques and
Right.
primitive firearms.
Well, yeah, primitive firearms, yeah.
Right.
You can even own those if you're a felon. So
Right. It's ridiculous. All right. So you have to, we're not going to be able, so we're not going to be able to do some DIYs. We're not going to be able to make our own, or we still have to put a serial number on it, or do we have to
you're
put a
gonna have
serial
to.
number on it and report
Yeah,
it?
so you're gonna have to ask for a serial number. So they're doing this thing so backwards, and we told them at the beginning, like, this is the most inefficient way to do this. Like, this is crazy. Most states that have implemented this, it starts from the bottom. So what you would do is they would give you a standard. It has to be, certain number of digits, and it has to include a letter or whatever. So you would you would create the serial number, submit it to the state, describe the firearm it was going on, and then you would imprint it on there in the required way. In Massachusetts, because we love spending money on bureaucracy, you first have to apply to the state for a serial number that they would create and send back to you before you can even begin the process of assembling
Oh my
or
God.
creating your firearm. So it's just completely backwards. So now we have to have this DCGIS is the most put upon agency in the world in this giant monstrosity. They are going to be if they don't give them more money to hire more staff, they are so screwed. Because they have to do everything. They're doing data collection, they're doing serial number establishment, they're doing the registry, they're doing everything. It's insane. I don't know how they're going to do it. They have a staff of like 8 people.
Oh my
It's
God.
wild.
Yeah, that's just
That's
it.
nuts.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
So, it's
Uh,
just the most backwards way to do it. It's insane. We said it to them over and over again. Even the police chiefs were like, "Why are you doing it this way? It's just
right.
making extra work for everybody." But
I mean, the way I see it is this: the people that put serial numbers on things are the people that manufacture them. So if you put a serial number on something, you're manufacturing it, right? Or what
Yes.
if you wanted to change your VIN number on your car? You wanted to customize your VIN number. Can you do that? No, you can't do that. You can't put your own VIN number on a car. You can't build your own kit car and put your own serial number on it. That's ridiculous. It is
Because
ridiculous.
you can only. Do you know what the law is about that? Do you know there's a really weird federal law about manufacturing and selling cars? This is an interesting one. So if you build your own car in your garage, you can only sell one. That's it. Your entire
Really?
life. Yeah. So if you build a car
What?
and you sell it, you can't do that again ever. Yeah. You
My
can never do
gosh.
that again.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do they
Protectionist
know?
Protectionist BS. That's what
How
it is.
do they know?
Because
That's
you
what
have
I
to
wanna know.
register. Because you have to register a car, Charlie.
Jesus.
Every
It's a bunch
state
of-
makes you do that.
Yeah, I've got a friend that's got a collection of like little Mini Coopers all over his place, and I don't know how many are I don't know how many are officially cars because some of them don't have wheels and engines and
They're ghost
doors and
cars.
stuff. Yeah, they're ghost cars. Exactly. They're DIYs.
Yeah.
Such
But-
ridiculous. All right, let's keep going through this. So we have
Ghost
some
cars.
we have some registration, reporting, and tracing. What does this mean? The law requires law enforcement to updates existing firearm reporting into the database. Here it is for firearm registration, reporting.
Guess who's responsible for it?
I'm going to say the DCJIS.
Those
One
poor
of
people.
the 8 of the DCJIS. Maybe, what if we got it? If they're looking for people, I'm looking be like I'd maybe like a new job. And then what if I did this job and then lost all the files or something.
If you want to Ron Swanson it,
right, completely. What was the movie that what's his name was in? Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson was in something where they destroyed all the records, didn't they? Oh yeah, Natural Born Killers. Never mind.
yeah. Oh, I love that movie.
Never mind. All right. So what else do we have? Let's keep getting through this. So we get some firearm data. So they're gonna want to keep track of all of our stuff at the DCJIS,
Which is ridiculous. Just to go back for a second, firearm tracing is the most absurd thing ever because it stops in the same place every time.
Right.
The last guy who legally purchased the gun is the last person of record that's going to own it.
Shocking, right?
Like, I don't understand what criminals don't they don't keep a database and a registry, and they don't report their transactions. Once it gets stolen, the guy they stole it from is the last person of record that owned it. Like, it
Right.
makes
Well,
no sense.
Well, when we go back to what we were talking about earlier, and now that person's going to have to pay a fine, no longer $500, up to $1,000
Mhm.
For having their gun stolen.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Make work bullshit. That's what it is. Sorry.
Yes. Let's talk about this because we're getting close to an hour. This is one of the things that I'm a little bullshit about is the training the training part, because
training.
Yes,
Yep.
I'm an instructor. I'm certified to teach a number of the NRA courses. I became certified last year to teach some of the USCCA classes, which I'm trying to do. The USCCA classes are not licensing courses in
Right.
Massachusetts. We only have 28 or 29 approved firearm
like that.
course.
Yeah,
So
I think
now,
it's 29.
right.
Yep.
So now we're going to have one approved course by the state police, and
Yeah, it's going to
I'm
be.
not.
Yeah.
I'm not against the state police, and I'm not anti-police, but I don't want the police making this decision because
Right.
my deal with the police is this: they can have the guns that you and I can't have that are not on the roster. They can have those magazines.
Can we
Those
make a
high-cap
caveat?
magazines.
Only if this is on you, sellers and FFLs. Only if you're willing to sell them to them.
Ah, well, there we go. Yeah, Ronnie Barrett did that, where he's like, listen, if your company is not going to allow, or if your agency is not going to allow people to purchase his Barrett rifles, then he wasn't going to sell them to the those particular licensing authorities. So good for him. But anyway, so what does it say here? Requires state police to promulgate a uniform training curriculum and standardized test for all new applicants for their license to carry or their FID card. Curriculum will include live fire training and disengagement training. What is now live fire? I don't want to say I get it. I don't want to support it, but I get it. Right? It's a good idea if you're going to have a gun and carry a gun, that you know how to use it and you use it safely and you can hit your intended target.
And Gold doesn't recommend any courses, any basic pistol safety courses that don't require live fire.
Right.
But
so it's good to have. Absolutely. Yeah. But a written exam, what does that really prove?
Well, there's also some penalties for, so if you're an instructor and you issue a certificate to somebody who did not pass, you are liable for fines and possible prison time.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. Disengagement training. What is this?
Beats the shit out of me.
This should be interesting.
Okay, this
Run away!
Right. Stop, drop, and what is it? Stop, fight, flight, or what is it?
Throw the holy hand grenade of Antioch.
This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of taking the verbal judo book, turning that into a curriculum, and then turn around and selling it to the state and saying, "Hey, this is the curriculum that I want you to approve, and this makes sense." Right?
Yeah, they're not even mentioning how much this is all going to cost somebody to get their license either, are they?
Oh my God! Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, isn't that kind of discriminating?
Yeah, totally. I mean, how long? Look, I mean, we know as instructors, if you want to go, if somebody goes from, I think I'd like to own a gun, to taking a class, buying a license, buying a gun, buying ammo, buying holster, buying the safety gear, joining a shooting range, because most of the ranges that we have here in Massachusetts are private clubs. It's an easy $800 to $1,000. Easy $800,000 to $1,000.
That's before you even buy a gun.
Yeah, before you, yeah. So it requires local licensing authorities to attend the EOPS trainings regarding their licensing and reporting responsibilities. Requires dealer applicants to complete online training program about their responsibilities, their business premise security, and hiring and training employees. What is that? What does this have to do with training? This is This is nonsense.
Make work bullshit, Charlie.
Yes. Oh my
That's
God.
what half
Make
of this
work
is.
bullshit. I love it. It's true.
It's yeah, this is ridiculous. I don't know about you guys. I would love to see a run on I would love to see a run for myself, of course, but I'd love to see a run on training and have like a boatload of people take classes before this goes in so they can get grandfathered in. And then when this when the state gets all blocked up and those 8 people at the DCGIS can't process applications soon enough, then we can turn around and sue them and say, hey, listen, we did this beforehand. You guys dragged your feet. Now you have to give us our rights, even though the dates have passed.
We're working on that.
Yes.
We're working on that.
All right.
We got some stuff in the hopper.
It's totally going to change the training aspect.
Great.
What do we? The next thing, violence prevention establishes a special legislative commission to examine. What is all this about?
Well, we all know how successful legislative commissions are.
Right.
I don't know.
What is Reagan's definition of forever?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's a government program.
Yeah, it's a government program. So I don't know. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I mean, we just got this thing this afternoon. It's 111 pages off the top. So
Gotcha.
I haven't gotten to every single aspect of this. And
Okay,
also, so also the summary that you're going off of, I would recommend everybody take that with a salt mine. Because it came out of Mike Day's office, and we all know how.
Right, so he's not spinning it or anything.
How misleading it was before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so it's funny. So I was talking. There's another one I was talking with Toby earlier about. Back when they first released this bill, the first overture that Mike Day made to the Democratic caucus, he gave them a summary of the bill, and we had already done our breakdown and our crosswalk on it, and we got a hold of his summary and we looked at it and we were like, what is this? Like, this is nothing. This is not even close to the language that's in most of these sections that you're talking about. Like, what the hell? So it was when we still kind of had a good relationship with his office, so we called him up and we were like, what? Okay. Yeah, and we were like, what's going on with this? Like, why is this so far off from what we had? We've gone through this thing with a fine-tooth comb, and they maintained that, no, this is accurate, it does this and this, and we're like, no, like, I don't think so. So that was the first indication that we had where, I don't think they really wrote this. Most people thought that after they saw, Gabby Giffords hanging out in the State House.
Right.
But
and that check coming out of the pocket of Michael Day's the check sticking out of his pocket. Yeah.
So I think looking at this version of the bill and how there's a couple common sense things in here that do fix problems that we have. I don't say common sense in the way that the anti say common sense gun control. Right. I'm saying like simplifying and streamlining some things. But I think this conference committee is the first time that he had an opportunity to actually read his bill. I'm not kidding. Like, I think this is the first time he actually read it himself, because there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. There's a whole bunch of things that are missing from this version that were in the House bill that were particularly egregious. And, there's some stuff in here that actually does some good. But I'm not kidding. I think that was the first time he actually sat down and read it and was like, "Oh my God, this does go too far." They were right. There's a joke in Family Guy that I always laugh at, and I think about in these situations. And it's the one when it's in like one of the early seasons. They go to prison, Peter and his friends, and the guy comes out and he's like, "I'm going to stab you," and they're gone. And he's like, "Huh, I wonder what this feels like." And he stabs himself, and he's like, "Huh. That's what that's like. I belong in here."
Oh my God.
Whenever I see stuff like this, I'm like, oh, it's got to this. It always just reminds me of that, because you try to convince. It's when you've been lying to everyone else for so long and you realize it's a lie. It's hard to admit it to yourself, but.
Sure. One other thing I want to get to is it's an intoxicated firearm carry, which
it's a good one.
Right. What it used to be, it's going to change it to 0.08. It's the same level for drinking and driving.
That's fine.
But the before it was, I saw you drinking and carrying a firearm. You can't do that. right?
Or I saw you sniffing glue. That's my favorite one. Under the
Saw you
influence of the
sniffing glue.
vapors of glue. John
Mhm.
always
Nice.
I love that one.
Nice. I want to pull up a question real quick here from G Webs. He said, these bad laws only exist with ignorance. The antis exploit the ignorance of guns. Are there any campaigns to help educate not just the gun owners, everybody in Massachusetts, about the issues or that they're using against us? And he says the Schoolhouse Rock songs would be awesome. I didn't know this until we were at the gun law listening tours, and Renee was one of the people that brought this up. She said there's already a campaign that they did in '94, I think it was, where Massachusetts was supposed to have some pro-gun.
2014.
2014. Okay,
Mhm.
there was supposed to be some pro-gun PR campaigns that the state shockingly did not do.
So this is a
Didn't have the money to do it.
symptom. Well, this is a political issue. That's what this is. So in Massachusetts, if you allow me to get a little dry for a second, in Massachusetts, the governor has what is called the right to do a line item veto. And what that means is if a particular provision in a piece of legislation has a line item attached to it, which is an account number that is specified in the budget, if you attach a specific funding source to a provision in a piece of legislation, if the governor doesn't want to do it, they can veto that line item and that provision in that bill without vetoing the entire bill. So often when the legislature wants to do something and not get vetoed by the governor and they don't really care about it, it's just something, it's just feel good words on a page, they will often establish an unfunded mandate, which is that term everybody knows, which is a mandate without a funding source attached to it. So down the road, when they hand the statute off to the executive branch gets to decide their priorities for funding. And if there's no money for this program and it doesn't have a specified line item attached to it, there's no money for the program. So the governor can go to the Secretary of Administration and Finance, A&F, and say like, hey, this isn't really a big priority for our administration. Bump it down. And if there's money left over after paid family leave and, universal kindergarten and all that stuff, maybe we'll send out some PSAs about safe storage laws. So that's kind of the deal with that stuff. And that's exactly what happened with the state police PSA stuff.
Gotcha. What a bunch of nonsense. All right, listen, we are a little over an hour. So what, Carrie Ann, you're the activist gal here. What should people do in the next 24 hours? What should people do very, 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 very...
We're doing the PSA for them. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So people should write to their politicians. People should call the office. I know I got an email that said we need to do a phone call.
Call your legislators right now.
Don't email. Yeah. Hey, look at that. We got
I think I broke
tomorrow.
up. Am I here?
Okay.
All right. So I got frozen there. Call your legislators. Call.
So earlier, Carrie Ann's right.
Email.
Call. Don't email. Call.
Call. Email.
Call because
No.
So if you go to malegislature.gov and you go up to hearings and events and you click on House sessions or Senate sessions, they are both in full formal session tomorrow. They just added the Thursday, July 13th or July 18th.
Roll calls at 1:00.
Yep. Yeah, so it starts at 11. So they're going to be they are all going to be in the building tomorrow. Every single member of the entire legislature, both the House and the Senate, are both going to be in there, and they're both going to be voting on this conference committee report, which is ridiculous to me because it's 9:00 at night. They just announced the House version, and look how big this friggin' thing is.
It's 9:00.
It's
on a
bullshit.
Wednesday, and this is
there is no way that they are all going to have the opportunity to read this goddamn thing and make an informed vote on it. So they're all going to be basing their opinions on this summary that Mike did. So, yep.
And which is not as we already know before, it wasn't accurate. It was
Right,
misleading.
exactly.
So, this is what's going to
Absolutely.
happen. But I did post something on the Goal website not too long ago that has information on where to find your legislators and everything else. So check that out and keep an eye on our website and everything.
All right, so everyone should go to gold.org. Can you find the full bill there? Yes, or
So
just the summary?
I would recommend going to malegislature.gov
Okay.
and going up to the search bar and typing in H4885. And there's a
4885 Mo.
Yep, and there's a so H4885, and there's a corrected version that they just
Corrected
released
version.
a few minutes ago too, which is 4885-2, which I am not seeing.
So we've been
Dash
on
two.
for just over an hour, and they have a new version. They had a new version a minute and a half into logging in, and then they had another new version.
Well, we know how
later.
sloppy the House Judiciary Committee is. So
What a bunch of nonsense.
I can't.
I'm
Gotcha.
a little confused on this because I'm wondering if it's the jacket was incorrect.
Well, I like to say this: come on in, take your hat and jacket off. All right. Listen,
Oh boy.
With that. With that, we need to wrap it up. G Webs, thank you for tuning in. Thank everyone who tuned in. Please go to gold.org. You can find your legislators. Please call them tomorrow morning on Thursday, July 18th.
18th.
Give them a call tomorrow morning because they go into session at 11 o'clock. Thank you to everyone that wrote in some comments and asked some questions. Gold.org/H4139-conference-report is where you can read this for yourself.
Yep.
And I want to thank you guys for the work that you guys are doing. Mike is it's after 9 o'clock. He's got 2 young children and a wife. Currently, they might leave him. Who knows if he stays at work? But he does work a little closer than Carrie Ann at the Goal office. So we thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being on, and we will talk to everybody soon. Thanks a lot. Oh, I want to put a plug in here. July 31st, completely unrelated. July 31st, Matt, Mallory, and I are going to be on doing a live show at 8 p.m. Eastern with Eric Pratt of Gun Owners of America, and we're going to be talking about the GOA Goals event. So please tune into that, and thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie.
Keep up the fight. Don't give up.
This fight is not over.
Sure isn't.
This fight